The rise of a new Cold War. For decades, the Cold War was a battle between the United States and the Soviet Union, a war fought through espionage, economic strategies, and military posturing. Today, a new Cold War is unfolding. This time, the battle is between two superpowers, the United States and China. This war is being fought in boardrooms, cyberspace, the South China Sea, and even outer space. But what does this new Cold War mean for the future of the world? Let's dive in. Chapter 1: Origins of the Conflict. To understand today's tensions, we have to go back to history. Since China's economic reform in the late 20th century, it has transformed from a struggling nation into the world's second-largest economy. The US once saw China as a developing partner, but that changed as Beijing's ambitions grew. The 21st century has marked a shift from cooperation to rivalry, with economic dominance, technological supremacy, and military power at the heart of the conflict. During the 1990s and early 2000s, globalization intertwined the US and Chinese economies. China was admitted to the World Trade Organization in 2001, boosting its economy. However, by the 2010s, rising trade imbalances and concerns over intellectual property theft ignited tensions. As China advanced its Belt and Road Initiative, Washington grew wary of Beijing's expanding influence. Chapter 2: Trade War and Economic Rivalry. The trade war between the US and China officially began in 2018 when tariffs were imposed on billions of dollars worth of goods. China retaliated. Companies like Huawei were blacklisted. American businesses struggled with supply chain disruptions, and today, tensions remain high. China is pushing for economic self-sufficiency, while the US seeks to limit China's access to key technologies. Who will come out on top? The global economy is feeling the ripple effects. The semiconductor industry is at the heart of this struggle, with the US restricting China's access to advanced chips. Meanwhile, China is investing billions into self-reliance, aiming to surpass US innovation in artificial intelligence and biotechnology. Chapter 3: Military Build-up and the South China Sea. China's military has grown exponentially. The Chinese Navy is now the largest in the world. Beijing is expanding its presence in the South China Sea, claiming territory that has sparked disputes with neighboring countries, and the US military exercises are becoming more frequent. The fear? A conflict over Taiwan or the South China Sea could escalate into something catastrophic. Taiwan remains a flashpoint. Beijing has increased military incursions into Taiwan's air defense zone, and US policymakers warn that an invasion is a real possibility in the next decade. Meanwhile, the US continues arms sales to Taiwan, further straining relations with China. Could the world be on the brink of a new military confrontation? Chapter 4: The Tech War and AI Dominance. The new battlefield is digital. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, 5G networks, these are the weapons of the future. The US and China are in an arms race for technological superiority. Companies like TikTok, Huawei, and Nvidia are caught in the crossfire. Could the winner of this race dictate the future of global power? China's state-backed firms are developing their own AI algorithms, while the US is tightening restrictions on Chinese access to advanced chips. Meanwhile, espionage accusations fly between both nations, raising concerns about cybersecurity and national security vulnerabilities. Chapter 5: Influence Operations and Cyber Warfare. Cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns, spy networks. Both nations are using covert tactics to gain an upper hand. US intelligence agencies warn about Chinese cyber espionage. Meanwhile, Beijing accuses Washington of the same. The war is no longer just on the battlefield. It's in your smartphone, your social media, and your newsfeed. Platforms like TikTok and WeChat have come under scrutiny, with US lawmakers fearing that Chinese-owned apps could be used for surveillance. Meanwhile, China tightly controls its own internet space, limiting US media and platforms within its borders. This digital divide is deepening the ideological and geopolitical split between the two powers. Chapter 6: Alliances and geopolitical shifts. The Cold War wasn't just about two nations, it was about alliances. The US is strengthening partnerships with India, Japan, Australia, and NATO allies to counterbalance China's growing influence. China, on the other hand, is deepening ties with Russia, Iran, and the global south. The balance of power is shifting. China's Belt and Road Initiative has expanded its reach into Africa, Latin America, and Europe, providing infrastructure investments but also raising concerns about debt diplomacy. Meanwhile, the US is working on alternative global trade partnerships. Could this be the foundation for a divided world order? Chapter 7. The Future of US-China Relations. So what's next? Will this rivalry escalate into war? Or will diplomacy keep tensions in check? The world is watching, and the future of global power hangs in the balance. One thing is certain: the new Cold War is just getting started. If you found this deep dive insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content. Let us know in the comments. Where do you think this conflict is headed? Until next time, stay informed.